I had always been a sucker for a good deal, so when I stumbled upon a listing for an old abandoned cabin in the woods on Craigslist, I couldn't resist. The photos showed a quaint little cabin with a rustic charm surrounded by towering pine trees. The price was unbelievably low, and a sense of adventure compelled me to reach out to the seller. I received a quick response from a man named Henry. He explained that the cabin had been in his family for generations, but had fallen into disrepair over the years. He was eager to find someone who would appreciate the history and beauty of the place, rather than just bulldoze it for development. Henry's words were warm and inviting, and we quickly struck up a rapport. Arriving at the cabin on a crisp autumn day, I was greeted by Henry's friendly smile. He looked older than I had imagined, with deep lines etched on his weathered face. His eyes held a mixture of nostalgia and sadness as he recounted tales of his childhood spent here, surrounded by his family. The cabin itself seemed frozen in time. The wooden exterior was worn but full of character, and the interior was filled with antique furniture, faded photographs, and old books. It was a treasure trove of history, and I was excited to breathe new life into it. As the weeks passed, I spent my days sanding floors and hammering nails, accompanied by the distant echoes of Henry's stories. But there was something strange about the cabin, an unsettling feeling that gnawed at me. I chalked it up to the isolation and my overactive imagination, dismissing it as mere paranoia. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast long shadows through the trees, I invited Henry over for dinner. His eyes flickered with a mix of gratitude and sorrow as he stepped inside. The candlelight danced across the walls, revealing a sadness in Henry's expression that I hadn't noticed before. Over dinner, Henry's tone shifted, and he began speaking in hushed tones about his family's dark secrets. He revealed that the cabin had witnessed not only cherished memories, but also unspeakable horrors. His ancestors had been involved in a string of disappearances decades ago, their sinister activities hidden beneath the facade of a peaceful forest retreat. I could feel a chill creeping down my spine as Henry's stories became more disturbing. His eyes seemed to darken, and his voice grew more haunted. I tried to shake off the unease, but the weight of his words settled over the room like a suffocating fog. After that night, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustling of leaves outside seemed to send shivers down my spine. I wondered if I had made a grave mistake by buying the cabin, by delving into a history that should have remained buried. I began to notice subtle changes around the cabin. Objects moved, whispers in the wind that carried echoes of Henry's unsettling stories. Sleep became elusive as nightmares of shadowy figures and chilling cries haunted my nights. One evening, I decided to confront Henry, to ask him about the truth behind his stories. As I approached his house, a flickering candlelight caught my attention. The cabin, usually dark at this time of night, was now illuminated from within. My heart raced as I cautiously stepped inside. The scene before me was a nightmare come to life. Henry stood in the center of the cabin, surrounded by flickering candles. His eyes were cold and unfeeling, his smile twisted into a sinister grin. The truth slammed into me like a freight train. Henry was the embodiment of the cabin's dark history, a legacy of malevolence that had festered through generations. As realization dawned, I felt a surge of terror unlike anything I had ever experienced. Henry's chilling laughter echoed through the cabin as he advanced toward me, a gleaming knife in his hand. In that moment, I understood the true horror of the cabin, a place where the past and present merged into a chilling dance of deception and madness.